All right, one of the things we wanted to do was a question and answer session with us, but we didn't want it to be a Facebook Live where people may feel intimidated or may feel their questions are dumb or anything like that. So what we wanted to do and what we're going to continue doing is email us or message us your questions. And we don't care what the question may be. It could be, what lift kit do you prefer? How do I fit 35s on my vehicle? What is your favorite trail? Anything of the sort that has to do with us, off-road consulting, you, your vehicle, what trails, what off-road parks. Ask your questions. Send them over to us, and then every so many days or once a week, we'll put these videos together and answer your questions. So the questions we have received over the last couple days, and these are not going to be in any sort of order, it's just how we received them and how we wrote them down. What is the difference between a green guided ride and a blue guided ride? Well, a green guided ride, green trails are always based off of a stock vehicle can get through them. Now, an easier green, a novice driver in a stock vehicle can get through. A hard green is an experienced driver in a stock vehicle can get through. So that's always the basis. So the green trails are always based off of not necessarily a beginner, but if you want to go have an enjoyable day, but don't want to worry about any sort of damage, scraping, things of that nature. But also if you're new to the sport or hobby, or just want a nice relaxing day with your kids or what have you, that's a perfect thing for a green guided ride. The blue guided rides take it to the next level where you should have just slight modifications, whether it's the next size tire up, skid plates, things of that nature, possibly lockers. It all depends on what vehicle you have as for what modifications you may need to be able to do blue trails. Plus the blue trails are a little different between the different off-road parks. Some off-road parks, the blue trails are harder than others, so we have to keep that in mind also. Now the guided rides, just in general, the guided rides are there for if you don't have other people to go out with, or you're looking to conquer some trails or go through some trails, but you don't want the added pressure of having to navigate yourself through them. The guided rides with off-road consulting are based on the guide looks at the group as a whole, figures out what the least capable vehicle is in the group, and bases the trails off of that. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be on the easiest trails possible. That guide may take that least capable vehicle around certain obstacles or trails to make sure everybody else can go through certain spots. It's all adapting as they go to make sure everybody has fun. But that's the goal of it, is to show you what trails are out there without you having to navigate yourself. What is your favorite off-road memory? Well, I've been doing this for so long. I have so many, but there's some that are at different off-road parks, like my cousins coming in from Germany and me taking them out on trails. They never saw off-roading before, so I took them through some pretty crazy trails. But probably one of my favorite ones was, 20 some years ago, I had a modified YJ, and it had the typical things with the vacuum disconnect CAD front axle, where it worked great until I needed it. And my dad and I were in my Jeep up at our cabin. We drove down over the hill through the snow, and my dad was kind of picking on me going, "Oh, is your Jeep gonna be able to make it through this?" Just harassing me about it. And we were driving through about a foot and a half of snow. We went down, made a loop through this one property, and we started coming up a hill, and I couldn't get traction. Well, I found out that the front end wasn't working because that axle disconnect didn't switch itself over, which is a common YJ thing. And my dad was picking on me about my Jeep and how it's a Jeep thing. Well, we had to call my grandfather to come down with his truck to pull me up the hill. So it's actually just a really good old school memory of mine. What is my favorite trail? This one's a difficult one also, because I like a lot of the trails out there, and it all depends. I have certain trails that I really like at certain off-road parks or certain state forests. And years ago, I was in the same spot where a lot of people are, where you always want to go harder and conquer that next trail. But over the years, I found the best thing to do is to just enjoy the experience. Whether you're on hard trails or easy trails, enjoy the day, enjoy the company you're with, enjoy the situation you're in, and everything that's going on. It's not necessarily the specific trail, it's more of the overall experience. And I actually like doing easier trails more than anything anymore. The scenery, the wildlife, the company. I enjoy that more than conquering hard stuff where you make it or break it. I enjoy just being able to go out and do it. Now, one thing with me, over the years, I've had buggies, I've had fully built vehicles, I've had all kinds of different things. Hold on, my paper blew away. I've had all different types of setups over the years, and I actually enjoy having a drivable vehicle that I can drive on the street regularly. I enjoy that more than I do with a buggy, because the buggies, as fun as they are to be able to conquer almost anything, I like me being challenged to where I have to pick the right line. I have to find that right sweet spot to get the vehicle through. I have to decide whether or not to use the lockers to conquer that obstacle. I have to be precise enough that I pick the line, I'm methodical with everything, that I do not break the vehicle, but yet I can still get through that situation. It takes more skill to take a lesser vehicle through a harder section without breaking it or damaging it than it does to have a buggy or an overly modified vehicle and point and shoot. Sure, both sides of it are fun. I like the challenge in me, not to have a vehicle that's kind of point and shoot and just kind of walks through. So, favorite trail? It all depends. Depends on what park and where I'm at that time. I enjoy the challenge of it, and I enjoy the camaraderie. How do I know when I can do a certain trail? We hear this a lot because somebody will be reading the internet and they see, oh, I've done this red trail in a Jeep Cherokee on 31s with no locking differentials. But yet they pull up to the trail and they're like, wow, this is crazy. Well, it all depends how much you care about your vehicle and how much you want to drive that home, or if you want to spend half the day possibly repairing the vehicle if you break. You can get a Subaru through a red trail if you try hard enough. It's not going to be pretty and it won't be able to be driven home when you're done, but if you do it the right way, you could get one through. It's not going to be a pretty sight though. It's going to be a lot of winching, a lot of dragging, and it may not even be drivable at the end. Or you could take your vehicle through a trail, enjoy the experience, and not damage it at all, and then drive it home and still be able to take your kids to school the next day. So, what trail is best for you? It all depends on what you're looking to do. Do you have a favorite or must-read off-roading book? Actually, I don't, because there's quite a few books out there that you can read. Anything from recovery to itemizing your vehicle to repair novels. There's all different types of books out there. If I had to pick one, I actually like reading the ones where it's more stories than anything. Experiences. We picked up one at the PA Jeep show last year by a woman who wrote about how her Jeep was a family heirloom and how it meant a lot to the family. Those are the ones I like more than any of the other stuff. And there's always a degree of, well, this person just copy and pasted this information in here. They're not saying things correctly. There's always that when it comes to a lot of the how-to books. Whereas when you talk to somebody about their experiences, that's real and that's true. And that's what I appreciate. So if I had to pick one of those, there's multiple out there, but it's what you're more interested in reading. Are you more of a how-to technical person, or are you more of a like to read about stories? What things should you check on your vehicle after going off-road? And also, how often, and is this something every time? We're actually going to do a how-to video with this, just a quick video of what to look at when you're done off-roading. So look for that soon. But to answer the question, it all depends on what you were doing. If you're driving down dirt roads, a simple check to your air cleaner and things like that. If you're in headlight deep water, there's a lot more things to check over. It all depends on what you were doing. If you're out mud bogging and you get your vehicle completely covered in mud, yes, there's things. But it all depends on where you were and what you were doing. So without opening a rabbit hole of where to go with this, watch for the video to come out soon. But yes, there is always things to look out for. But the best thing to do is just give your vehicle a general look over and check all the mechanicals to make sure they're good. And fluids, make sure your fluids did not get contaminated at all on the trail. If you're very deep in water, you should check them. If you're minor depth in water, not so much. When to and when not to use the lockers. Now this is a topic that's kind of timeless when it comes to off-roading. Prior to traction control in vehicles, a lot of people were always, you can't have fun unless you're using your lockers. You're not going to get through an obstacle unless you use your lockers. I look at lockers as kind of an easy button. If you're driving around with your lockers on, you're letting the vehicle do a lot of the work. If you drive till you're running out of your skills, till you're right at the end of your skill set, and you look at an obstacle and go, I don't know if I can make it up that, through that, or I don't know how I'm going to get out of the situation. If you got to that point with your driving skill, then you can turn the locking differentials on to get yourself through or out of the situation. If you have your lockers on as you're going through every obstacle, by the time you hit that point of, I don't know what to do now, you have nothing else there to help you except possibly winching yourself out. You're already beyond your driving abilities using the lockers and relying solely on the lockers. I like to teach people to use their driving skills as far as they can safely, then use those locking differentials to get themselves out of the situation. You'll be able to go farther, but it's always an improvement of skill. If you're always working on improving your skills, you become a better driver every time. If you push the buttons and hope, that is not a good technique and that is not improving skill. So the best drivers are the ones that are in tune with their vehicle and they can read the terrain and use their skill sets. And you'd be surprised how somebody can get a stock vehicle further than an overly modified vehicle because they have more skills and they're a more prepared driver. And that's a big part of it. I use my lockers when I need them. I don't have traction control in my Jeep, so I have to use them a little bit more often than a newer vehicle. But I still wait till I absolutely need them. I turn them on, get through that situation, turn them back off. I use them sparingly and when needed. It helps preserve and protect the vehicle. So now that is the end of our list of questions for this time. Again, email us your questions at offroadinstruction@gmail.com. You can message them via Facebook, Instagram, any of our normal contacts. Feel free to reach out with questions. And we don't care what the question may be. There is no silly or stupid question. We don't care how basic or as extravagant the question may be or anything of the sort. Feel free to ask. Thank you.